Our group is going to present the Libor scandal. The Libor is a benchmark interest rate that affects how consumers and companies borrow money across the world. The rate is set by the British Bankers Association, which is an industry group in London. And here is how the rate is set. First, banks submit figures to the BBA every day. There's 15 banks that do this, and they have to submit the rate of what they can lend money out to other banks by 11 in the morning. Secondly, the British Banking Association takes away 25% of those rates, the top 5 and the bottom 5. Then they take the middle, and then they get the percentage. The percentage is now the Libor. And the Libor affects everything from mortgages to derivative trading to regular personal loans and even student loans. And all told, there's about an $850 trillion impact on Libor. Libor is pretty much affecting anything that's tied to an interest rate. So this is what happened. During the financial collapse in 2008, the Libor rate came into question, both with the need and the accuracy. Rumors were spreading that Libor is being manipulated. Everyone was talking about, from professors to the media to even government authorities. From 2007 to 2008, Barclays employees raised concerns with several government regulators on concerns that the rate submitted for the US dollar Libor was too low, and it didn't represent what the borrowing cost was. As time continued, the discussion grew, and the possibility that there was further Libor rate manipulation. In May of 2008, the Wall Street Journal published an analysis with findings that a number of banks submitted significantly lower borrowing costs for Libor than what other market measures, such as credit default insurance and others. In March 2011, reports began to circulate that the U.S. Department of Justice, the SEC, and Commodity Futures Tradings, all U.S. entities, have launched a large investigation into Libor settings banks and manipulating Libor. And then after these investigations were done, Barclays, the main bank that was involved in the Libor scandal, was fined up to $2 billion for their role in the Libor scandal. So the big question is, why did they do this? Why did they manipulate the Libor, and how could they do it since there's a large group of banks that submitted? Well, first off, if they submitted a rate that was really low, it can affect the interest rate just a very small fraction of a percentage. And these derivative traders were actually selling and moving millions and millions of dollars. So that small percentage had a big impact on the daily take on the derivative side. So the derivative side was being built up as a more profitable and major revenue source for Barclays, especially in 2008 when the financial collapse happened. They were the only ones making money. And secondly, Barclays put a lower Libor rate in just to look like they were a strong bank. You know, if they're a big, strong bank, they can offer a rate lower than anyone else. That goes to show you that people will look at them differently in the marketplace. So really, they adjusted the Libor rates and tried to manipulate them for two reasons. One, to boost money in their pockets, and then two, to boost their status as a large and strong bank. Both combined added to the overall profitability of Barclays. So here we can go with the ethical issues here. So the major ethical issue is Libor tampering. And then there was a second ethical issue. The CEO for Barclays, when he was approached by all these federal regulators, really lied a lot of the times and didn't take blame, and really created a lot of upset people in the banking, even in the world. So let's take a look at our ethical issues here. So ethical issue number one is the Libor tampering. The stakeholders really is the entire global economy. As you saw on the first slide, over $850 trillion is linked to a LIBOR-backed percentage rate. So you're thinking $850 trillion, even at a small percentage that it affected, your millions and billions of dollars were at stake here. Ethical issue number 2 is the CO line to regulators. So what kind of values do we have in these situations here? One, the values for the LIBOR tampering is just trust in banks. It gets to that point where you give an organization your money, a bank your money, and you expect them to do the right thing and not to be doing unethical things. That's why you really have to have trust in the bank. Because if you don't have trust in the bank, then all of a sudden you start having runs on the banks. So we really have to have the trust in the bank with the values. And then values with the CEO line to regulators, you have to have trust in upper management. You have to believe that, and this is for any job, any organization, you have to have trust in upper management, and to know that their decisions that they make are ethical, and they're for the best for the company and for you personally. So solutions for the upper level management value is corporate compliance programs, a lot of training and how to deal with issues, and the big thing is focus on prevention. Let's prevent these issues from coming before you start putting yourself in a position where you may have to lie or may have to fib a little bit to make the situation what you think better. But if you prevent it, you won't have to worry about putting yourself in that situation. And for the LIBOR solutions, there's a couple different options. One, you can get rid of LIBOR altogether, you can keep it, or you can have stricter regulations. So when all this was going on, there was a lot of talk already about how LIBOR isn't really that effective anymore in a global economy. So what we thought here is the best solution, instead of trying to get rid of it altogether and having it something that we put together really quickly as a stopgap, and instead of stricter regulations, let's keep LIBOR for now and work on an overhaul through time and make sure that it's the right system and it has checks and balances so something like this doesn't happen. So we're still going to use LIBOR as a benchmark, but until we find a better way and a more accountable way, that's what we'll have to do. Keep LIBOR, work on an overhaul, and come up with a method that it has checks and balances and can accommodate the global economy. Any further questions we can answer in class.